Good morning, traders. I'm Dennis Deck.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Well, we've got lots of earnings here today, but let's start with the overall market because we have bounced off that support level once again. We've been talking about the 1491. We briefly cut through it there just at the end of yesterday's session, got down to 1490 and a quarter, but then just bounced off there, closed up strong, and then we did test a little bit overnight, got down as low as 1492.25, but have bounced. Europe is trading higher, and now we're up over 6 points this morning.
And Dennis is mad at me
I
again.
am mad at you on this one.
He's mad at me. That's why he almost didn't do the show today. I talked him out of another trade. But talking to him about the support at 1491, it came down near the close. And, of course, being my Perma Bear self, I said, it's going through this time. And he didn't take the spiders home long enough. And lo and behold, we get a bounce. And, in fact, the bounce that we got here in the pre-market is taking us up to the intraday high from yesterday. So that 1501.75 is a real good number. And I don't have to reiterate, again, that major support at 1491.
Yeah, 1491 is absolutely huge. And yeah, I was mad at you there, Joel, because I actually did buy the SPY down there off the 1491 support. And it was drifting through there, but it was so weak with 5 minutes to go in the day. And Joel was basically like, well, I don't know, we're closing pretty weak here. And I was kind of already thinking the same thing. I'm like, you know what? It popped back up. I actually just scratched the trade out. And I wish I was tempted to take it home overnight, and I didn't. And obviously, I would have been a good trade, the 8. But we can't be. You can't give me all the good. You give me lots of good ones, Joel, and
okay.
Can't get them all. So let's move on.
All right, what's on the earnings calendar?
Well, Yum reported last night, and the stock is absolutely taking a bath here this morning. It's trading down over $4, actually just about $4 right now, trading at $60. They beat by a penny, but the revenue missed, and they're looking not so great in China, and that's what's really put the stock under pressure here last night and this morning.
Okay, you did get that initial pounding. It took it down to 59.60. We are holding that in the pre-market. Making that 59.60 low, you got to bounce up to 60.50, and that looks like real good resistance here in the intraday chart. I'm kind of surprised because they had a great commercial during the Super Bowl, so I would have been leaning the wrong way on this one. But looking at the daily chart here, I have to even go back even farther.
Yep.
Let's go to the weekly to take a look at this stock.
Find
support. And the weekly is no good.
Go back
the
further.
monthly doesn't work.
There you go. You can find something there.
I like the $60 level, Dennis. I know we breached it in the pre-market down to 59.61, but boy, that's a quick 10 points if you've been short this stock. I like the $60 level.
BIDU also reported earnings last night at $1.31 against estimates of $1.29. Stock initially got a little bit of a pop. It was actually pretty wild right after the report. It spiked up, it spiked down, and then it just started slowly drifting down. And now, obviously, it's down $7 here this morning, trading right above a critical 100 psychological level.
Spiked to 110.10, then the crater under 99, making a 98.57 low, getting a reprieve here. Almost reached 102 on the bounce. So obviously they're not liking what they see here from BIDU. Take a look at that $100 level, Dennis. You had a low at 99.32 back on January 7th. We did breach that in the pre-market. That $100 level should be a good swing level for you. If that can't hold, you got to put double bottom back at the end of the year around the 97.50 level.
Estee Lauder also reported earnings. They beat pretty good, $1.16 against estimates of $1.05. They slightly raised their full-year guidance, but lowered their Q3 guidance, so you kind of got mixed guidance happening there. Stock don't care. Stock's flying higher here this morning, 63 and a quarter. It's up $2.20 from the 4 o'clock close. They're liking and they're interpreting it all as good news over at Estee Lauder.
Yep, just printed here 63.50, a pretty big pop for this stock. Not a ton of volume. Let's look at the dailies here. You got major resistance here at the $64 level. Had a high at 63.88 on the 29th of January. a high at 63.99, so 64 could be tough. Above that, you have major resistance up there at 64.61. And let's see, taking a look at a little bit, it's a long time that this stock has been up here, reaching all-time high is 65, so the stock's on a tear. Keep an eye on the $64 level.
Yeah, don't be surprised though. Some of these retailers, and I've just from trading them for so long, some of these retailers, especially these specialty retailers, like these apparel retailers, can get some momentum going, and there isn't a lot of liquidity in these issues, especially on a day that they've had earnings. So don't be surprised if this thing just starts blowing through levels. Obviously, an all-time high is going to give you some initial resistance, I would think, but I wouldn't be surprised if that 64 level falls here too. It has been the slow, steady climb here during the pre-market, so wait till it makes a high and then reanalyze it from there. But just trying to tell you that these apparel stocks, they do sometimes follow through, so don't get caught.
Kevin has some fundamental analysis he wants to throw in here. He said the truth about makeup is that women will give up cigarettes, booze, and food to buy makeup. So maybe they're not eating as many tacos and they're buying their makeup.
Apparently they are, because the earnings were pretty good for the quarter. So moving on here, we've got a few other ones reported. ADP, which is obviously a gauge for the overall market sometimes too, they reported earnings here. It hasn't even traded though. They just beat by a penny, 72 cents against estimates of 71. We can't really tell you too much because it hasn't had a pre-market trade yet, but we can tell you Joel will go find some resistance for you from a couple days ago.
Yeah, look at it. Yesterday's high was 60.75. That was backed up by the high on Friday at 60.72. So if you go into rally mode, there should be some good resistance there. Probably some size kicking around at the $61 level. Looking at a little bit longer term chart, weekly. I mean, just like the market, 5 years highs. So if you've been long this for a while, here's some opportunity to sell a new all-time high.
We had a little pullback in MasterCard the last few days. While it's bouncing here this morning, they doubled their quarterly dividend up to 60 cents from 30 cents. They also announced a $2 billion stock buyback, so MasterCard getting a good lift here in the pre-market, trading up at $521.60, up $7 on this stock buyback dividend news.
Yeah, and then here's another level that I'm using. Instead of thinking, wow, 514 is good support, should buy it there, I'm looking for the shoe to drop, to crash through this 514 level. No such thing. Closes right on the low, comes out with the good news. Looking at the intraday chart here, got a spike up to 523, pulled back since. Just remember a few days ago, I believe they got an upgrade by somebody, and they traded some crazy price. I don't know.
Well, it had earnings too, obviously, too, which had a little lift there too. But.
Yeah, when they had this spike up here. Did they declare a special, have a special dividend last year?
Last year they did. Yeah, I can't remember how much it was, but they did last year. Everybody was doing their special dividends before because they were worried that Obama was going to raise the dividend taxes. So MasterCard was participating in that too, and they did announce a special dividend last year. But they're increasing the dividend for this year too. J.C. Penney, it's really getting beat up here this morning. It's down $1 actually right now. They received a letter from Brown Rudnick, lawyer, basically saying the notice of default, so representing some of their debenture investors, saying there was a notice of default under the one indenture for their 7.4% debentures. I'm not sure. They're denying that is what J.C. Penney's initially saying that there, but obviously getting a legal letter from a lawyer about a possible default under one of your debentures is not good news for the stock. Now, it's not like they're defaulting on it. It was just under one of the indentures. But for some reason, debenture holders are not happy here, and the shareholders aren't happy this morning.
Yeah, and probably Bill Ackman's not too happy either.
Is he long that stock?
Is it Ackman, or who was the big activist in that stock?
I can't even remember. Was it an Icon?
Einhorn, Ackman,
I don't know.
One of those guys.
Yeah, I get them all. Now you get them all mixed up. These guys all try to push their muscle around to say what their positions are, and that's always their big scam. Is they basically they accumulate a position, and then I have the position, and then the stock bounces because they have it. But I can't remember if it was Ackman or not.
Hit 18.18 in the pre-market, coming down. You really don't have a lot of great support here at the $18 level. You do have a low at 1761, so if in fact we keep going south on this news, that should be very good support. You also had a low at 1736. That whole 1750 level is major support. But what I'm glad about this is I was going to talk to you about a week or so ago, and I was looking at the daily chart on this, and I was thinking about all the dogs that have been barking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And this is one that hadn't been barking, and I just looked at it and I said, well, let's see if it can hold 20. I was looking at it probably a few days ago, and I'm glad I saved some ink on that one.
Yeah, it's starting to move back down and get to the lows. A lot, like what you said, a lot of the dogs have been doing very, very well here, moving up, really for the last couple of months. But there's always the odd dog that obviously has a few more fleas than the other one, and this one looks to have a few more fleas here too, and been drifting down towards the lows. Got a few major upgrades here today, actually. Citigroup's upgrading Target and Bed Bath & Beyond. Let's go to Target first and take a look at the daily on that one. Stock is trading, well, it hasn't traded. It's bid up here today at 61.48, but nobody's sniffing him, so that bid at 61.48 is just kind of sitting there. So it looks like Target is going to open higher.
Yeah, it's you had a high here at 61.56. It looks like that's going to be taken out. That's the 2-day high. But look at this, Dennis. You got a double top, 62.12,
Yep.
62.13. That should be your first resistance point. Not maybe a place to initiate a short, but perhaps if you're looking to exit along, $62 looks like a good level. If, in fact, you can break above 62. You had another double top at 62.28. So a couple good levels to sell into if you're looking to exit the Target.
You want to talk about a good level, bring up that BBBY chart there and look at this $60 level there, Joel, because this stock, that's Best Buy. You always do that. The triple BY and the double BY, they get you every time. $60 is obviously we got up just below there back about 7 trading sessions ago. We got up to $59.95. We were trading at $59.50 this morning, so about 50 cents down from where you should see some pretty decent resistance on the BBBY. Oh, it did take it out? Did it take it out in the pre-market?
Yeah, it did take it out in the pre-market. Got to 60.17, but let's stick with the dailies here. Look at that $60 level. If in fact it breaks above 60, you got a lot of air between 60 and 60 and a half.
Kellogg also reported earnings here. Actually, stock trading just ticked $59. They beat by a penny. Their revenue also beat too. So stock is trading up here this morning at a pretty critical level. The $59 level looks pretty big to me. I do have a trading position on in Kellogg's for full disclosure as well.
Yeah, we did get a spike up to 59.54 in the pre-market. So far, the low has been 58.11. Now, here's a stock that trades a lot of volume. So let's keep an eye on this $59 level as a swing number. If it holds there, it's good to go north. Going out a little bit longer term, whew, thing looks good, man.
It's been marching.
A lot of cereal or what?
It's been on a march. All these food stocks, really, a lot of stocks have been on obviously a tear
Everything.
here. When we're up, approaching 5-year or all-time highs here on the indices. Obviously, a lot of stocks are trading higher, but the food stocks have really been on a tear here for the last 3-4 months, and Kellogg is no difference here. But at $59 does look big to me. Disney reports tonight. Mickey Mouse, House of Mouse, your favorite stock there, Joel. What do you think about what's Disney got in store for us?
Oh, man, ESPN keeps driving those profits. The stock is incredible, on a run here. You do have resistance up at the 54.87 level. That's your 2-day high. That was backed up by another high back on the 24th, 54.87. So you probably have some traders leading on the book at 55, selling a little bit ahead of it, trading up in the pre-market. I don't even have to guess. If I go to the weekly here, the chart looks the same. If I go to the monthly here, the chart looks the same.
Yeah, it's just marching.
I believe that's it. That thing is just marching. Before we move on to the questions, Gilead also beat here. That stock has been on a tear, Dennis.
Stock is trading up here 50 cents this morning. we've obviously had some type of what the chart though is that split. I think it might have actually had a stock split there, just from my chart isn't adjusted, but yours probably is. $40.10 is where we're trading this morning. It's up 50 cents.
Yep, looking at the pre-market, you did get a spike in that stock up to $41. We've cooled back since then, and we've hit the 40-50 level. Looking at the dailies, you have a top at 40.90 from yesterday and 41.14. So if it really goes into the rally mode, let's look at resistance at the $41 level.
Walgreens actually just reporting same store sales here. Interesting that they report on the Tuesday. Usually those go out on the Thursday. But stock is trading up 80 cents this morning, $40.82. So getting a nice lift for Walgreens. Is that a new all-time high? Not a new all-time high. It's a new 6-month high.
40.87 is what we hit in the pre-market. There's a weekly for you. I guess you're gonna have to get some more data on this chart.
These things are moving.
Everything. Yeah, looking at the monthly here, you got a lot of air between 40 and 42. That's what we're reaching in now. But I would just keep an eye. I mean, here, this is another thick stock, Dennis. I say this a lot, but the reason I say it is there's a lot of stock kicking around in the book. You know, that people have orders out, institutions have orders out, and they just want out. They want out at 40.20. If they get a better print at, 40.50 or whatever, those orders, those GTC orders stay on the book.
Yeah, well, and then they get the price improvement at the opening at the 9:30 close. The stock's probably going to open higher, but that's why we always say use those whole numbers, because institutions often do throw out large size of whole numbers, and those can be key swing areas. So I'd look at obviously 41 off the bat, and then maybe in the 50-cent increments 41.50 if it blows through that. But same store sales good this morning, so Walgreens is getting a lift. Well, what's your overall market thoughts here? Because we are getting a lift off of Europe. A lot of your financials, which were weak yesterday, are trading higher here today. We have bounced off the 1491 area once again. So a 1491 area just enormous for this market.
Yeah, let's just say you got a good reference point, as I mentioned earlier in the show, on the upside. 1501.75 has been the high in the pre-market. That coincides with yesterday intraday high. And for you folks that are saying, what's he talking about with the intraday and the Globex, I like to keep an eye on the day session highs as well as the 24-hour session. I base my analysis and my numbers on the 24-hour session because it really traded those levels. But I also like to keep an eye on the intraday levels as too. So when I mentioned that 1501.75, that was the high from just the 9:30 until 5:15 session of the trading. All right, we're going to stop the regular broadcast here, and we got a few questions.
Okay.
Our first question from Josh is, how do you trade earnings on the open? Sometimes the earnings are great, gap up, but right on the open they sell off. Any suggestions?
Look at that initial print. Look at basically and see which way we drive through and what the opening print, and look at where it opens on the primary exchange. So it's a New York stock. I don't like to look at an ECN print. I want to look at the consolidated. I don't want to look at the consolidated print. I want to see where it opened, where the designated market maker on the floor opened the stock. Use that then for a reference point. If it bounces up 10, 20 cents but then cuts through that point, then I would get nervous. So basically what I try to do is if I'm trading earnings off the bat, I always use that opening print as a reference point. And if stock opens up $2, a lot of times the specialist, or they call him designated market maker on the floor, has to provide liquidity to that, so he might be a net seller. So that's when sometimes when the stock opens too high, sometimes it can be a good reference point too. So much on that where that closing print is. So as soon as it opens, make sure you note and you jot down if you're trading that stock where it opened at, because when it cuts through that area again, that's when it can really pick up some steam.
And just one note on that, we talk about the pre-market highs and lows. Hopefully, Josh, your software gets that, and you can mark those parameters, because sometimes they're never seen in the actual trading session. Another thing is on thicker stocks. Keep an eye on where they're trading in the pre-market. Pretty much, a minute or so before the open. I'll just go to that Merck example the other day. There was a lot of volume trading at 41.75, 41.80. The designated market maker obviously had a lot of buyers in the book that he wanted to fade, not as many sellers. He opened the stock up, 50, 55 cents from there, short, and boom. I mean, the guys that were selling at 41.75 and 41.80 were all too happy to sell again at 42.30, 42.40. So, just like Dennis says, it just reemphasizes the opening print, but also kind of use that in correlation to where the stock was trading at 929.59. I mean, you can see those prints.
Yeah, and that's why we use the pre-market, and that's why we do this whole analysis and tell you where the stocks have been pre-market, because if they're trading quite a bit of volume, you always use volume. Kramer always says use it as a lie detector, and he's right. If it's just traded 100 shares at a level, it's not as important. But if it's traded, 10,000 or 20,000 shares near the same level in the pre-market, that level becomes relevant all of a sudden, because a lot of other traders now have reference points. They've opened or closed positions at this point. So those numbers become much more relevant. So we like to look at the pre-market action and the after-hours action, and we like to jot down the highs and the lows, because where those stocks turn sometimes in the pre-market after hours, they might turn there in the regular session as well.